God bless you all. Thanks for tuning in, and a happy feast of the Holy Hierarchs, Saints Athanasius and Cyril of Alexandria. My reflection today for you I've entitled, When God Hides. When God Hides. And my mind has been stimulated by this, thinking about a very common kind of inspirational poem. I have often seen it in parishioners' homes and friends' homes on the wall. I'm sure you're familiar with it, called Footprints. And it has usually a beautiful scene, a beach scene, where you see these two sets of footprints going on. And the inspirational poem basically goes like this. A man was having a dream, and he saw the beach, and he saw two sets of footprints, and he was walking down the beach with Christ, having given his life to Christ. This beach tapestry is the overview of his life. And he noticed that in the most pressing periods of his life, there was only one set of footprints, and he was completely mesmerized by this and didn't understand why Christ would leave him at the most difficult points of his life. And he posited this question to Jesus in his prayer. And Jesus said to him, My son, I never leave you. I never leave you. In the most difficult parts of your life, those are the times when I picked you up and carried you myself. It's a very beautiful reflection, I think. Certainly, it's something that all Christians can relate to experientially through their life. Both the man's doubt and his initial thought, as well as the more certain assurance of the presence of God. The concept, though, has roots in one of the oldest lives that we have, which is the life of Saint Anthony the Great, the father of the desert, whose feast was yesterday. Today, St. Athanasius is today's St. Athanasius. Yesterday was St. Anthony, and St. Athanasius is the biographer of St. Anthony and his spiritual son. And we know most about St. Anthony's life through the writings of St. Athanasius. St. Anthony's life took the world by storm, not just his actual life, which drew so many people to the desert, such that the deserts literally became a city of people seeking God and seeking first his kingdom. But also, St. Athanasius' life was translated into so many languages and spread from the east to the west, the north to the south. I remember some years ago when a copy of the Latin translation of St. Athanasius' life was found in an Irish bog. Yes, and it was from the 400s. Can you imagine? Very shortly after St. Anthony's life, uh, even the Irish monks were studying St. Anthony's life very carefully and trying to imitate it. Oh, what's that? I have a little light problem. That gives me an opportunity to turn around. Oh, what's this? What's this? Oh, I guess it's not that. I guess it's not that warm anymore. It was a little bit warm this morning, so I had to don some of the new P&P paraphernalia. Anywho, back to the subject. That footprints reflection, I think, so beautiful as it is, really has a root in one of the experiences that St. Anthony the Great had as a young man, as a young ascetic. He so beautifully sought God above all. Of course, as a young man, about 20 years of age, he entrusted his sister to the care of a pious woman and then went into the desert. And he struggled very aggressively against the demons. His life is really the best summary of demonology that we have in the church. We see how he related to the demons, how they attack us, what the nature of the spiritual warfare is, how to conquer demonic warfare, etc., through the life of St. Anthony. After some years of really aggressive asceticism, ceaseless prayer, sleeping very little on the ground, interceding to Christ for himself and for the world, there was a scene where St. Athanasius had taken up St. Anthony rather, had taken up his residence in a hollowed out pagan tomb. And the devils came in all manner of wild animals with screeches and terrible reptiles and serpents and lions threatening to devour him. And Satan just rained blows down on St. Anthony, just literally pounded on him, not just psychologically, but also wore him out and left him basically bloody and half dead. The language is the same language that is used in the parable of the Good Samaritan, where the man was beaten up by those bandits and left for dead, was half dead on the side of the road. This was Anthony's condition. And his friend, who would occasionally bring him some bread, came and found him in this condition, barely conscious and completely just bloodied on the ground. And he brought him back to the village and to the village church to see if they could rehabilitate him. When he came to consciousness, he insisted that his friend bring him immediately back to his place of warfare, back to his cell there in the tomb. Even though he couldn't stand up, he resumed his prayer, laying on the ground, and bid defiance to the demons and mocked them and said, "Look, you know, you're so powerful, but and there's so many of you trying to frighten me and ruin my life. If you're so powerful, one of you could have killed me. But none of you have, because Christ has killed you. Christ has defeated you and made you powerless. And I'm not going anywhere. I'm calling on the name of Christ and taking refuge under his cross." And in fact, he caused great pains to the devils. And they were driven away by Christ appearing. And when Christ appeared, St. Anthony said to him, Lord, where were you? Where were you and why didn't you stop the fight earlier? Why didn't you stop it? And the Lord Jesus said to him, I was right here, right next to you, watching the contest, watching your valiant struggle. And I will always defend you, and I will make your name famous in the world. And in fact, because of the Lord's willingness to allow St. Anthony to struggle to this level, to engage in this amount of battle, the result has been the salvation of so many innumerable people. Because St. Anthony became a master teacher of spiritual warfare, and he never would have become a master teacher of spiritual warfare if he had not gone through that conflict, which he thought was above his power. And don't we relate to that? Isn't it true that often we think that God is hiding, that he's not with us, that he's left us? It's a huge temptation to us. Absolutely not true. And then a second thought is that if we can get past that and we know God is with us, why didn't he stop the trouble? Why didn't he bring this conflict to an end sooner? Why did we have to go through so much pain? And we can learn from St. Anthony's example and through his own life that there is a good reason. There is a good reason. And we don't always know that immediately, but we can take great consolation in the life of St. Anthony. There is a reason, a salvific reason in God's love that he allows us to bear the crosses and to face the challenges, especially the spiritual battle that we have to go through. And we entrust ourselves to him, and we believe in this. This is why St. Anthony became the teacher of the world and said to us, to this day, he bears witness that demonic apparitions and demonic opposition is something that should not bother us and should not frighten us. He says this, he says, don't have any fear of the demons, fear God alone, and hold demons in contempt because they've been defeated. Fear God alone and hold demons in contempt because they have been defeated. Now that's the counsel of St. Anthony. God never hides. We just think he's hiding. We don't see him. We don't experience him sometimes. He's cloaked at our side, so to speak, so that he can watch the contest as a great coach, as our great champion and coach who's leading us in the footsteps that he himself trod first. Praise be to his name. And may God strengthen us always to know that he is at our right hand, a shelter and a protection. God be with you.
Now available at patristicnectar.org. Patristic Nectar Publications is pleased to present Theological Foundations, God, Man, and the World in Genesis 1 through 3, a 10-lecture series. The opening chapters of the Holy Bible provide the fundamental elements of the Christian worldview. There we learn about the one true God, the human being fashioned in God's image, and God's meaning-infused creation. These texts, which have always formed a central element in the Church's catechetical ministry, present the most important of Christian convictions. These chapters are particularly relevant today, as secularism has suppressed these essential truths from the Western mind, and priests can no longer assume that these basic theological affirmations are believed by those coming to the Church or raised in the Church. These lectures are presented as an aid in the formation of catechumens and as an effort to set forth the transcendent beauty of the glory of God, of the human being, and of God's magnificent world. For these and other available titles, visit our website at patristicnectar.org.